Second largest school district in the nation is set to vote on banning cell phones during school for students. This comes after the U.S. Surgeon General sounded the alarm about how social media is harming kids and teens. ABC's Elizabeth Schulze joins me now for more on this. And Elizabeth, this has been a big talker for the last couple of days. What would this ban in Los Angeles look like, and how would the school system be able to implement this?
Yeah, and Stephanie, this is something that so many schools, teachers, policymakers, parents are grappling with, this question of how can these restrictions be put in place so that those phones aren't as distracting, while also making it so that kids have access to their phones if they need them to reach their parents or reach people who they need. So this proposed policy would make it so that there are no phones or social media during all school hours. So that would include breaks or lunchtime. This is the initial vote today, and it would then go through a process where there's feedback from policymakers, from parents, teachers. If it is approved, this would take effect across schools in LA. And as you point out, it is the second biggest school district in the country in January 2025. We have seen several states, different districts try to implement these policies. In Connecticut, there was an example where you bring your phone in, you put it in a magnetic pouch to start the day, and you keep it away all day as a way so that students don't even have the option to reach into their pockets. So there would need to be this time where LA would take into account kind of what exactly how it would implement that ban. But this is something that we're seeing a lot of schools think about because they're recognizing just how distracted it can make students and interfere with kind of the day-to-day learning process in the classroom.
I'm kind of surprised this didn't happen sooner.
Yeah.
But you mentioned this is the second largest school district. And do you think other schools would actually follow, even though that school in Connecticut and others have kind of done something similar? But would this really just kind of explode really across the country in seeing more schools follow suit?
Yeah, and a lot of schools have this. In fact, LA does already have some restrictions in place, but this would sort of set a more uniform standard. And this follows this really pretty stark warning, Stephanie, from the Surgeon General, urging classrooms to ban cell phones altogether. In the call to arms from the Surgeon General, Dr. Vivek Murthy, he, in addition to that call for those warning labels on social media products, like you'd see on tobacco products, he said that there is also a role that schools and parents play here. And he said it's clear that having phones in classrooms is not an advantage for students. He also said parents should put phone-free zones in place at their homes. Obviously, that's not possible all the time, he says, but specifically think about trying to not have phones around at meal times or at bedtime. So this is something that we are seeing, a lot of districts already have put some of these policies in place. Undoubtedly, as there's pressure from kind of the highest level, the nation's top doctor, but also from the community, the question is how do you balance that, but also still recognize that parents want their kids to have phone, especially when they're a little bit older in high school. It's not like you can just take this away altogether, and the reality is a lot of kids do rely on that for communication still, too.
Absolutely. You spoke to the U.S. Surgeon General after his call for warning labels on social media. What advice did he have for parents when it comes to screen time, other than kind of separating rooms and making phone-free zones?
Yeah, and that was really interesting because that's something that sounds great, but is hard to practice day to day. And it was striking to me how, Stephanie, the Surgeon General said he has talked to so many families who've asked him, what are you doing with your own family when it comes to screen time? What is the best guideline? Because it's hard to know exactly when you should give your kids that phone for the first time, or when you should allow them to open up social media accounts. What he said pretty explicitly to us is he will not let his own children sign up for social media until after middle school, at least in high school. He said that's at the very earliest that he wants them to be on some of those social media platforms, Stephanie.
I say 20 years old.
Or maybe never. I don't know.
Or never. I know. I'm with Kira Phillips. We both have 13-year-olds at home, and it's a no-go. My son asks me probably every other day, hey, can I get a phone? No, sir.
I
no,
like
sir,
that you're holding the
one.
line. Good,
yes.
Good resistance there.
I'll let you know how that goes, Elizabeth.
Yeah, I will.
Thank you.